Hello, everybody. Welcome to Irongeek Cast number 185. Again, the redemption of Rip Van Winkle, or as the previous week that didn't actually happen was called "Wake Up, Adrian, When September Ends." Sorry about that, folks. I was in a certain mental state at that particular time. Let's just say that. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing good, man.
And Barry is now a
week.
I got a stupid icon I found, so hey, an avatar, whatever.
It worked for me.
It'll work.
How's everybody doing tonight?
I can't complain, man. I've been having a really good couple of weeks. You know, seeing this girl, really like her. She might be the one. So, you know, shit like that.
How old are you, Trez?
I'm really old, man.
No, like seriously, how old are you? Like, 20s, 30s, what?
Keep going.
Oh, really? You're that much older?
No, I'm 38.
Oh, okay.
I'm still the oldest person on the cast, I think. Maybe.
I was married before, but that did not work out.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it's because I'm thinking my next thought was this your first or not? But okay, cool. So at least you know what to not look for.
Dude, she's just as crazy as me, but in the same ways. So it's.
Well, that's good.
Actually, I'm 57, so I'm older.
Oh shit! You got me beat then.
Damn.
By a pretty big margin, actually.
No wonder it took you so long to plug in a mic.
Okay, boomer.
No, my voice meter potato took a dump. So this is just raw mic.
That seems to work pretty well. I mean, I'm using the mic off my webcam, but it's a nice webcam. I used to have this 720p webcam, and it sucked. Now I got this freaking 4K webcam that I just downscaled to 1080p, and it still looks pretty good.
Jason is apparently also older than me, but he's currently not on the cast. He's just in the chat. So he has the link to the cast if he actually wants to join.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, I'm dealing with probate stuff for, my sister's bugging me about, we got to get this, stuff done for my aunt and all.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, some of that shit's a pain in the ass. I had to do it for my uncle and sort of my granny because my uncle didn't finish up my granny before he died himself.
Yeah, we have a similar situation.
And I'm assuming my brother's got the shit done for my mom, but I don't know. My brother's kind of a procrastinator.
I can relate to that.
All right. Anybody have anything to say else about the week so far?
No,
That pretty much wraps it up, man.
Yeah, kind of same shit, different day here. Nothing really special going on because I forget what day of the week it is sometimes because I'm home every fucking day.
Yeah, with COVID working from home, every day kind of seems the same.
Yeah, I actually have started walking more, so it's kind of helping me out, walking around the block and such. And probably this weekend, me and the wife are going to walk around a park nearby because our asses need to get more in shape.
Yeah, I actually bought a bike, but I haven't really been using it. I rode it a few times. I popped the back tire. I replaced it, put more air in it, and haven't really used it since then.
Oh, Barry, in the YouTube chat, I just put in the link to the show notes. Though, if you go to YouTube, I think it may appear in Streamlabs also. Oh, sorry, StreamYard. Question on StreamYard: do you all see the chat if you're not the host?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it. We just can't do anything with it.
Okay. By the way, warning to the people who show up in the chat: if you have an interesting question, I may pop it up on the screen.
Let's see.
Like I was popping up Justin Brown's.
Hello, world. That was an interesting question.
I may actually pay for StreamYard eventually because this is a pretty good service. In a lot of ways, it's been more reliable than Jitsi. Oh, we got the Jason.
It's Jason Stone!
We got a lot of background noise.
Jason Stone is gone.
Jason, when you're not speaking,
We can hear you, but we can't see you. But that was a nice beard.
Jason's figuring something out. It sounds like. Sounds like he's right.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can.
I can hear you.
I think the fan was going, making the background noise.
Cool.
Yeah, that's much better now without the fan.
If you can figure out how to set an icon, things would be much prettier. Otherwise, everybody just has to look at Frank.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm gorgeous, man.
That beautiful cleft chin of his.
Look at this shit. I got my Jack Skellington hat on and a con shirt because all my regular clothes are dirty and I don't want to do laundry.
I think I was just too old for that movie when it came out, but I know some people who are just in love with Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh yeah, my ex, well, one of my exes, is extremely obsessed with that movie.
I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
It's a really weird movie. The music in it is actually really good. It's somebody the same guy who does the music for The Simpsons.
It's Elfman. Elfman, yeah, Danny Elfman. Yeah, he does some really like weird shit. He's kind of like what's that one actor? Johnny. He's like the Johnny Depp of the music world.
Yeah, also,
super fucking weird.
I think when he was with Oingo Boingo, he did that song about I love little girls. I saw someone do a deep fake of like what is the guy's name?
Epstein.
Epstein.
Yeah,
fake singing the song.
That's great. I saw that one. That was fucking great.
Yeah. So,
Everything good, Jason? You went on when we were asking the general. How's everybody doing?
Yay, oh my god.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, I do have a fan on, but luckily I think my mic gain is down enough that it's not interfering.
Yes, I don't longer hear it so much.
Yeah, I was weird. I didn't know the fan would pick up. I mean, the mic would pick up stuff like that.
Well, there was one reason I was using a voice meter potato is I could create a filter that would notch out those fan noises.
Oh, nice.
So everything going good with you, Jason? You went on when we first started asking, how's everybody's week been?
Yeah, everything's cool with me. Just getting by. You know, there's a bunch of my neighborhood's going downhill. You got to dodge crazy people. They latch onto you and start following you around and talking to you and stuff. I had to lose one. I had to go hide in the garbage area.
I know which city, but I keep forgetting. I always confuse two different cities in the Northwest. So I don't know which one of those two crazy cities in the Northwest is you're in.
Portland.
The crazier of the two.
Yeah. So it's been kind of wild around here. It's like sirens every night and helicopters. Yeah.
There's been some crazy shit going on in Louisville, but that's across the river for me.
Louisville blew up too.
Yeah, but on my side of the river, I live in a suburb of Louisville, essentially on the Indiana side of the river, and things have been pretty chill.
Nice. Yeah, it's Tim Pool. Tim Pool actually moved because of the riots. He moved up on the boonies. Did you hear that?
Yeah. I talked to him a little bit. He's got to find a better. He said he's talking about find a better Wi-Fi. Oh, sorry, better.
Yeah, he's having problems with his internet.
Ben Shapiro moved to Nashville too.
Oh yeah, that's true. Ben Shapiro moved his show to Nashville too. Yeah, the big cities are just falling apart, man.
The times I've been to
Nashville, you can hear the sirens right now.
Nashville, definitely. Ben Shapiro has to find some of that. I'm assuming hot chicken is kosher, right?
Well, yeah, chicken's kosher. It just depends how it's slaughtered. It has to be prepared, slaughtered, and prepared a certain way. Okay, and then it'd be kosher.
What's the kosher way to kill a chicken? Because most people say, "I only way I know to do it is cut its head off."
Well, you have to have the proper size knife, right? It's got to be a certain knife, so compared to the size of the throat of the animal, right? So chicken's real small, so a chicken knife to kill a chicken is like 3 to 4 inches, sometimes 5, and it's really sharp, and they just do it in one quick thing, really fast, and just let the chicken bleed out. And they just slice his throat real quick.
I have to ask Mary what she does, because I'm pretty sure she just chops the head off, but I'm not sure with what.
Probably chop the head off with probably a large like cleaver. It's much more humane that way.
Welcome
They're-
to the Slaughtering Animals channel.
Well, they're actually what's called killing cones, and they got them for chickens and for ducks and geese and turkeys. You hang the bird upside down, the neck sticks out, you cut the throat, the the bird goes off and they bleed out and it's done.
Yeah, that's I've seen a little deal in the slaughterhouse for chickens. They'll usually they'll zap them to knock them out, and then they will hang them upside down, and then they'll just start cutting the heads off. That way the blood drains out naturally, and afterwards they're usually scalded to get rid of the feathers.
Yeah, the only
Yeah.
farm,
Oh yeah,
the only farm
that's
lady
the other thing.
Mary, pretty
Go
much.
ahead.
Sorry, Mary's the only farm lady I know, and she has a bunch of chickens, and I'm pretty sure she's cooked those up for me and the family before, and it's pretty good.
Oh, yeah,
raised
fresh.
chickens.
Oh,
I've
really?
Everything
The
tastes
fresher
better
they are, the
fresh.
better.
I've raised exotics,
Exotic chickens?
exotic egg layers.
Oh, okay.
What's an exotic egg taste like?
Well, it tastes like a regular egg, except richer. Some of them are green and blue and really dark brown. Some of the duck eggs are black.
Wow.
Goose eggs are great. Turkey eggs are wonderful. Guinea
Duck eggs are good. They taste different though.
Yeah, they were. I mean, I didn't really notice. I usually put hot sauce and pepper on them. So
I don't know if I ever had a duck egg, but I do like duck if it's cooked right. If it's not cooked right, it's greasy as hell. But if it's cooked right, duck is great because like everything is like dark meat. And on chickens, I don't like the white meat. I do like the dark meat.
well, there are dark meat variety chickens like silkies, which are really small. They're almost bantams, are almost completely black in the meat. And then there's some Indonesian birds that are completely black all over, everything, feet, eyes, flesh, everything.
Yeah, I saw some pictures of a duck on, a chicken on, I think Facebook, where everything was pitch black, including the eggs. All right, enough maybe with eggs, fish eggs. I tried some caviar, man. It's overpriced for what it is for my tastes. It's not bad. I'll have some on some toast with some butter, but I just can't justify the price of caviar. I ordered some like a couple months back just to try it. Oh, sorry. I'm talking about a chat that came in. I just can't. Caviar just isn't worth it for me.
I've tried it. There's different kinds, and some of it's good, but some of it tastes like shit.
Well, I haven't had the really good stuff. Like the really good stuff comes from what is it? Sturgeon.
Yeah, in my opinion,
beluga.
sometimes the cheaper stuff actually tastes better. Right back.
All
I
right.
know beluga caviar is big, especially in like Russia. Russia is really big on caviar. A lot of them will put all kinds of caviar. But yeah, sturgeon's popular because it's fairly inexpensive. Beluga, you can get it from salmon, although usually you get roe from that, not so much caviar. A couple different things.
Oh, the chicken lady herself is joined, but she's muted. We were talking a little bit ago about you, and what exactly do you use for slaughtering a chicken?
A knife?
So you just like chop its head off?
I have a video on YouTube if you guys want to watch the entire process. It's been up there for a while. It makes vegans angry.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I can link that to you guys if you need it. But one of my accounts has a 10-minute long chicken slaughtering video.
Would it
Start
be
to finish.
considered kosher?
So you used killing cones?
Yeah, in the video it's a feed bag, but effectively, yeah. I mean, killing cone's nice if you have them. A piece of metal flashing, it works just fine if you can shape it. But anything that'll hold it is fine. It's mainly just a splatter protect. So I've done them before, and then hanging them upside down over a feed bag, and then once they're upside down for a second, they calm down, and then you just reach in, slit their throat, pop their head off, let them bleed out.
Yep. Same thing you do in a slaughterhouse, except that's automated.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's some people you can technically bolt them to the head. Some people smash them with a hammer. I prefer just slitting the throat. So.
Yeah, bolting's usually only done on larger animals like steer because you can't really cut their head off cleanly. Where with steer, you do a bolt gun to the head, and that's They're out. It's
Well,
instant.
with the rabbits, there's a couple methods. I prefer broomstick just because it's quicker for me. But there's choke chain method, and then there's a hopper popper, and some people like to use a 22 or a pellet gun, and some people use a hammer. But I prefer broomstick because for me, I think that's the most humane. What you making? So,
Mary, mention your YouTube channel again.
let me think which one it is.
Yeah, the more things you can do to
it's paint.maryconley YouTube, I'm pretty sure. So if you do the paint.maryconley, that one should pop up that YouTube channel.
Okay.
The more things the more things you could do to anger vegans, the better off we are.
Oh, well, here, we're making manwich tonight.
There you go.
Shit.
Well, I know you guys probably steer clear of TikTok because, China and shit, but at this point, I no longer care. But there's been a large push against vegan teacher, mainly because she's lost her damn mind. So the farmer TikTok has been going after that for a while, trying to get her banned because she's insane.
Wait, Darius is bringing up just bashing with the broomstick. And I think the broomstick method means something more than that, because that doesn't sound the way.
No. It's certain. A broomstick method is cervical dislocation. I actually use a piece of rebar, but the way that works is you set the bunny down on the ground. You give them some hay or some grass or some treats to eat, so they're not really expecting it. You kind of pet them. You make sure they're nice and calm, and then you come up behind them, throw it on the back of their head, and very quickly pull up their back legs and snap their neck, so they don't see it coming.
Okay. And this is why I don't fuck with Mary.
Well, you've been there and we've slaughtered goats before.
I've been there when we slaughtered goats and pigs.
Yeah.
One pig.
But yeah.
Yeah, the Irongeek podcast, where you never know what you're gonna get.
Well, you guys wanted to know.
Slaughtering animals. Yeah.
Good ass. It's all good.
I get a random message from I think Frank, and Frank's like, "You coming?" I'm like, "Why?" Like, I should have figured.
I was curious if the chicken slaughtering was kosher, but as long as you have a big enough knife to cut the head off, I suppose it's going to be kosher.
It's kosher and or halal if it is done with either an imam or a rabbi praying over it, and it is done it is done by slitting the throat and bleeding it out. Because that's how that's because I've assisted in those before.
Oh, okay. When you cut the entire head off, that's equivalent of slitting the throat, isn't it?
No, it's not. If you do that, it's not considered kosher or halal. You have to straight up slit the throat. And there's there's debates on whether or not stuff like shocking them unconscious or gassing them out beforehand is allowed, because it's usually something you want to do. It's more humane, but there's a lot of people who believe, a lot of religious people who believe that that's not part of the kosher or halal tenet.
All right, let's get into the show notes then.
He came for the Linux, but stayed for the slaughtering of the goats. Excellent. So we got a shit ton of stuff to talk about this week, because we got a backlog of stuff from last week. So we're going to skip some of the more boring shit and just go for the interesting shit.
By the way, but anybody who's not normally on here, you know how to get the show notes?
I already got it.
All right. So first thing we're going to be talking about today is, and I share my screen. I can share my screen. Share the screen. That is not the screen I want to share.
When you do, I have to add it to the studio. I'll do that. Okay, yeah.
All right. We're talking about suspicious logins reported after a ransomware attack on a U.S. government contractor. So for Tyler Technologies, things are just getting worse day by day. First, they got owned. They got popped. They had ransomware, right? Oh, excuse me. Then they got rats on their servers. I mean, that's not fun. They put out a statement to their customers, letting them know that, they're getting shit back in order, as you do when you get hit with ransomware. They also said to their clients they strongly recommend they reset their passwords and remote network access. But now, as this article says right in its title, there are some suspicious logins coming from accounts that were dumped by the people who were able to get into this network. and they're trying to log into customer stuff that they should not really be able to see. My friend Michael keeps messaging me. He doesn't realize I'm doing a cast right now, and I'm going to bash him over the head. So Tyler provides more than 50 types of web-based applications for the U.S. public sector, such as like student and school management software. Tyler provides more than 50.
Sorry, I had another tab open that wasn't muted.
Okay. Jails, all sorts of shit, right? EMS and fire companies. The list goes on and on. Well, all these companies now who had their stuff hosted with this company are getting logins to their stuff from accounts that were stolen during this ransomware breach. So it just keeps getting worse for this company. Hopefully they are able to sort shit out. We'll see. I'm sure they'll be back in the news soon. Next, we got an article from Zdnet from Danny Palmer, not Catalin Simpano, who we always see from Zdnet. And this is about a group of hackers have been hiding out in company networks 4 months undetected. And this is a state-sponsored hacking group, and they've been creeping around networks for over a year, gathering information. What the hell is that? Is that a motorcycle? Okay. So this is a cyber espionage campaign, and it's using malware to infiltrate targets around the world, including organizations in the media, finance, construction, and engineering. Detailed by Symantec, the attacks against organizations in the U.S., Japan, Taiwan, and China are conducted with the aim of stealing information and have been linked to an espionage group known as Palmworm, aka Black Tech, which has a history of campaigns going back to 2013. They like to use living off the land attacks. Now, if you're unfamiliar with living off the land, it's pretty much using the resources that are already on the box to gain persistence and not dropping your own binaries that help you maintain persistence. There's actually a whole bunch of stuff. You got LOLBOS, which is living off the land binaries and scripts, which are really cool things if you are interested in this stuff. These are ones you can use on a Windows system. These are executables that are already on the system that you can use to do things in different ways than you would expect, such as executing code as system or having a little bit of a bypass for whatever, you know. It's good shit. That's LOLBOS. And then there's another one, which I can't remember the name of. I think it's also starts with LOL. LOLBOS. No, LOLBINS. Yep. LOLBINS. And LOLBINS are pretty much the same thing, but for Linux systems. So, good shit. Just using what's on the systems, living off the land. Very clever if you don't want to get caught. Anyway. They also use PSExec, which if you ever do any system admin work, you know that you can use it to execute code on a different machine, like from a command prompt. It's good stuff. Yeah, it's also signed by Microsoft, so, you know. They're savvy, and like many state-sponsored attacks, they seem to be minimizing the use of custom malware, and they deploy it only when necessary, which is clever if you don't want to get caught or leave a footprint. And of course, they're linked back to China, because if you're going to be doing state-sponsored attacks, China is a big place to be doing that. And that's pretty much that article. We got a lot to cover today, so I'm not going to go too in-depth to all these different things here. CMA, GCM, this is one of the big shipping places. They suspect a data breach, and that would mean that all 4 of the big shipping companies have now been breached in the past 2 or 3 years. I know because I work in the maritime industry. So this is a French shipping giant, and their offices are gradually being reconnected to the network, improving booking and documentation processing times. They suspect a data breach. Would not be surprised if it was ransomware, at least a ransomware attempt. Yeah. Next, $15 million business email scam campaign in the U.S. has been exposed. BEC, business email compromise, is a huge thing. A lot of money is made every day off of business email compromise. This is not just spam and spear phishing, but also really complicated campaigns designed to get users to click things and then either get a hold of their accounts or somehow exfiltrate data that can be used to make money. So BEC is big. So the FBI is now investigating a global business email compromise campaign that has netted cybercriminals at least $15 million in illicit proceeds. Researchers from Mitiga said the campaign, which is ongoing, is using social engineering techniques to impersonate senior executives using Office 365 email services. Now, as you know, if you use Outlook, sometimes if you get an email and it says it's from whoever and that person works in your company, you don't necessarily see the email address, you just see the name populated. So they're taking advantage of that by sending emails as CEOs and important people in companies, telling people to do things like wire money to them. And then the emails are not actually coming from within the organization. They're just using the same names, not even the same email addresses, not even forging email headers, just using the names because people are stupid and they don't check. It goes on. The article talks about how they're actually going as far as registering domains with GoDaddy and setting up Office 365 portals to make things look official. And that's the meat and potatoes of that article. We got a lot to cover. Next, hacker steals $15 million from the DeFi project and then returns $8 million of it because I guess he felt guilty. So usually when hackers steal a lot of money, they don't turn around and give any of it back. But this time, that's exactly what happened. The hacker returned more than half of the $15 million after draining the funds from the new DeFi project under development by Yearn Finance founder Andre Cronje. Cronje revealed that his unreleased project called Eminence had been the target of a hacker who managed to drain a total of $15 million that had been invested in the project by various users. The developer unpacked the situation in a thread on Twitter. We're not going to read that thread because, that's stupid. But the long and short of it is this guy was able to get a hold of the funds that were deposited into contracts. He exploited $15 million, effectively draining the funds completely from this project. And then for some reason, he decided to return $8 million of the funds into the finance deployer's account. Some users are claiming that he was involved in some way, that no hacker would just give back the money. It's an inside job. It's to get attention. It's whatever. Look, who knows? Hackers do things for all sorts of weird reasons. Maybe he figured, you know what? $7 million is enough for me. You can have the other $7 million. But we will not know until more information comes to light what actually happened here. It's certainly an interesting tale, though. The hacker who decides to give the money back, or at least some of it. In other news, now we're going to blame Russia for everything, because when we don't blame China, we have to blame Russia. I don't know what this is down here, and it won't go away. All right. So Russian-based hackers are responsible for the majority of nation-states' attacks on Microsoft customers, according to new data from the company, despite another report we just heard about that said the exact opposite, that it was China. Microsoft has issued 13,000 alerts about nation-state-backed hacking attempts to its customers in the last 2 years. 52% between July of 2019 and June of 2020 are Russian hackers. It's also a lot of Iranian hackers, a lot of hackers in China.
I would assume China being the major one, but I honestly don't know.
Apparently, Russia is bigger deal to Microsoft customer base, but I guess it's the systems they go after. Like going after Microsoft boxes in the cloud, it might be more interesting for China to go after those than say Russia. And Russia might want to go after Unix systems or Linux systems or whatever. Who knows? It's weird. I'm sure there's more info in here that we could read about, but it's boring, and we have other shit to talk about. So this happened recently this week. Las Vegas school got ransomware. They said, no, we are not going to pay the ransom.
Anybody wants to stop at any point to talk about some subject of the article, go ahead and insert yourself.
Exactly. Tell me to shut the F up, and I will happily stop talking, and you can talk.
That way Busted Sec is not doing all the talking. Not that I don't love to hear his beautiful voice as I stroke my chest hair. But anyway.
Moving forward, Las Vegas a school got hacked. And they said, we are not paying the ransom. And then the hackers released the social security numbers and the grades and everything about the students as an FU. Yeah, that happened. Happened September 9th, and we just heard about it. And the school district actually has 320,000 students, so that's a lot of people whose information is now out there. It's a pretty big thing to happen. I mean, normally they will threaten, but they don't always necessarily release stuff. But they did in this case. Yes, they probably should have. I would say never pay the ransom. Screw them. Never pay it. But in this case, if they had paid it, they probably would have been better off. All those kids' parents are going to sue them. Oh, it's going to be horrible. Speaking of bad guys and trying to protect yourself from them, we're going to talk about the Cyber Avengers. It sounds like a really bad Marvel novel, but it's not. It is a group of people who are banding together, forming a global coalition of volunteer experts trying to stop hospitals from getting breached. Now, there are like 5 or 6 groups like this. I actually signed up to join 2 of them, and then they never messaged me back. They're like, yeah, you're signed up. And yeah, that's great. Never contacted me. But there are these groups out there that are trying to make it so that if you get hacked in your hospital, they will help you for free. They will offer remediation services. They will do all these things. Hospitals keep getting hacked. In the UK, the NHS got hacked. They demanded 300. I don't know if that's dollars in Bitcoin or 300 Bitcoin, but talks a little bit in the article about WannaCry hitting hospitals and shit. Yeah. So most of this article is just recaps of hospitals getting owned, and we already know about that. Then it talks about how the league, how these people joined up, what their organization is about, and if you are interested in this, you want to help them out, I would encourage you to look at our show notes, click the link, and offer your services to these people.
But so it comes to malware in hospitals. Wasn't there an article sometime last week about malware possibly causing lives to be lost?
Yeah. So let's just skip to that because it actually is a good segue. When ransomware kills, okay? So in a German hospital, there was death of a patient because of ransomware. It was the Citrix ADC vulnerability, which there's been a patch for a long time, and the hospital did not apply the patch. The hospital got owned with ransomware. They had to shut down, and after they shut down, somebody who was coming to the hospital, a woman who had just had a heart attack, had to be rerouted to another hospital 40 minutes away, and in the process of that ride to that other hospital, she kicked the bucket. So that would definitely be seen as ransomware actually causing a death of a patient right there. It happened, and this shit does happen. It's sad, but you know, I think it's the first time we have a documented case of this happening, but it has happened probably before.
Yeah, I heard some debate on Twitter about that back and forth. I wasn't sure what exactly to believe. By the way, anybody else who wants to insert some commentary in the middle, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, seriously. I don't mind you telling me to shut up. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about the salt stack. All right, so my first introduction to the salt stack was through the Security Onion project, where if you want to deploy a distributed sensor, you have to use the salt stack to manage that sensor, and they don't like to communicate properly all the time, and that's why I hate the salt stack right now. But if it works properly, I'm sure it would be wonderful, and your salt minions would talk to your salt masters and things would happen, and it'd be great.
I'm assuming it's called Salt Stack. Salt stands for something.
It does, and we will find out what that does stand for in a second.
This is technically the Frank cast now because I'm too lazy to actually put anything in the show notes.
It's fine. We'll change the name next week.
All right, we can do that. Yes.
All right. So the Salt Stack, right? It's a way of managing future-proof automation software type shit. If you got applications that need to talk to each other, they're on different physical servers. They want a secure way of being able to touch base with one another and update each other and do all these wonderful things. That's what the Salt Stack is for. And the Salt Stack now is going to be joining the VMware family to power the next phase of intelligent automation. Or in other words, VMware is spending some money in Salt Stack.
Isn't Salt Stack a configuration management tool?
It is, but it can also be more than that.
Okay.
So, like, I got a server in a security onion server in the cloud, and that is my Salt Master. And my minion would be my my log forwarding box that's sending the logs over to the master. And say there's a new software update, the master can then talk to the minion and you go, hey, I got a new version of software. And then the minion can update itself and pull that through the master. And the minion, the master can also issue commands to all the minions at once, telling them to do things. Those things can be anything from ping a box to download and install this software to, you know, whatever command you can think of that you would run in a terminal. So it's a way of managing a bunch of boxes at once.
Oh, so it's kind of like a combination of, say, Puppet or Chef and Ansible, where it can
I
do
would say it's
management.
closer to Ansible than Puppet.
Okay. So it's kind of like, it's like Ansible with Ansible Tower as a mix. Okay.
Very similar.
I knew they're in the same wheelhouse. I just didn't know how, because they all differ in different ways. So
yeah, my only experience with it, like I said, is with Security Onion. Their new version, not version 1604, but the version 2004.
Okay. Because of the big four configuration management, Salt Stack is the only one I have absolutely zero experience with.
Yeah. So. Actually, I'm sorry, 1804, not 2004. So, yeah, it's an interesting tool. When it works right, it's great. But when your minions will not communicate with your master, it sucks. Next, we're going to talk about XP source code and Windows 2003 server source code. So, as you know from a few weeks ago, the source code for XP and the source code for 2003 leaked, and a bunch of other code, so like partial Millennium Edition code and some other shit was in there.
Now, they have access to this code. Wouldn't they have access to some of the newer code? Or I wonder how Microsoft tiers who has access to what code.
There was some newer stuff in there as well, but there wasn't like a full Windows 10 dump of source code. There was some elements of Windows 10 in the leak. So the hacker got a hold of this code, and like a good hacker, he compiled it. That's what you do. You got code, you compile the code. But he figured out a way to link it together so that it worked. And he built his own copy of Windows XP. Good for him. I seem to remember a certain sick bill hacker a while back who had the Windows source code and went to jail for it.
Yeah, which version did he have? I forget. I thought it was Windows 2000 or something.
It was like Windows 2000, I think. It might have been XP. Like somebody tricked them. They're like, hey, I'll give you $10 if you give me a link to download the code from your site. And it happened to be the cops. So,
bummer.
Yeah, it sucks ass. Moving forward, yeah, that's pretty much the gist of this. They have a nice little YouTube video, but the video is no longer available due to a copyright claim from Microsoft, which is fun. Yeah, both of them are gone. They have screenshots of the source code that was leaked. There was also some Xbox source code, about 5.29 gigs of that. There were some scripts, some PDFs, miscellaneous. The Windows kernel, different versions of it, XP. Some WikiLeaks stuff that was in there for whatever reason. and some patents and some other. I think there was also somebody said in the same leak a bunch of conspiracy videos popped in there for whatever reason. Like the dude who leaked this stuff wanted to make sure the conspiracy videos would leak out, so he also put those in with all the Microsoft source code he was leaking in the torrent. Either that, he was just really lazy and dragged the folder in there and then shared that torrent of the folder that had the other folder in it. I don't know. Whatever his reasoning is, those conspiracy videos are in there also. Thoughts, comments? Excellent.
The only comment I've got is, all right, I understand having violent felons not have Second Amendment rights anymore, but if you're a non-violent felon, I don't have a problem with you having Second Amendment rights. Other than that, I have no comment.
I think violent felons should have weapons also. I think everybody should have weapons. And if you get out of line, people just handle your business. There won't be any violent felons anymore. No, criminals do not want to commit crimes when they know everybody else is armed. They prey on the weak victims. You know what I mean? They prey on people that are weak or they perceive as weak or they can't defend themselves. Everybody can defend themselves. Criminals don't want to do anything. It's just how they're built.
And I'm very pro Second Amendment, but I don't know. I differ a little bit. If they have a history of, especially if it's multiple violent crimes, I'm okay with restricting their Second Amendment rights. And I'm pretty militantly Second Amendment.
Well, here's my counter to that. If they are so dangerous that they're going to commit crimes again, why the fuck are they out?
That's a good point. That's a good point. So I've been on some political articles recently that was discussing something similar to this, similar to that I brought up, which is kind of a offshoot. Sorry.
I like it. I'm upset with the New York law. If you have been in a mental institution at any point in your life, you cannot have a gun.
Oh yeah, there's some restrictions on that depend on, and there were people who were saying you should red flag anybody who's had to be on psychiatric drugs, and I'm like, well, that's a lot of fucking people.
And I think some people who have guns should definitely be on psychiatric drugs. If they don't have the drugs, they might shoot somebody.
It's a tough call on some of that shit, but you know, I've in the past taken some of the lower level stuff, like what was it? Wellbutrin and shit. Didn't do anything for me, but then again, I also have crazy motherfuckers online who should be in institutions trying to red flag my ass. So you never know.
Yeah. Next, we're gonna do a new section of the show that we call InfoSec Tool Review. All right.
Okay, show me your tool, Frank.
All right, so this tool is called Nabu. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It might be Nabu, but who knows? This is a port scanner, and as you know, we got a billion port scanners out there. My two favorites being Nmap and MassScan. But this one's pretty damn cool. It's written in Go, and it works really, really well. It's really fast at scanning a bunch of hosts. It'll do a SYN scan on like a list. You provided a text file that has either a series of hosts to scan or a host and a bunch of ports or a combination of the two, and it will very quickly tell you what's open. See, that's kind of how it looks when you run it. It's not really very hard to do. Say, we also go nabu/host, hacker1.com, and it shows you all the ports that are open. If you do a standard scan, it will, of course, try everything. Or you can just specify which ports. A lot of the syntax is the same as Nmap, like IL there, you know. All in all, it's a pretty good tool. You should probably add it to your toolkit. And if I am going to stop being such a lazy bastard, I might add it to the pen test framework sometime this week. But it's good. It's easy to use, and it's even got a Docker, so you can do a Docker run with it if you want to do it that way. It'll even run on Windows. Of course, you have to have Go and have that set up properly, but it will run on Windows. You just need raw socket support, and you're good to go. That is our InfoSec tool time. And next week, I'll even use the tool because I have some other tools I want to demo. And now we're going to talk about general IT news and cool technology before hitting last week's show notes that we didn't get to do. All right, we got a really, really cool quantum computer that was built that handles 1 million variables at a time. It's a 5,000 qubit quantum platform. And these are all words, and I don't know the meaning of most of the quantum qubit words, but this thing's impressive. It can do a lot of math. And, I don't know, maybe get it to run Hashcat for me. That would be fun. Amazon has this weird fucking thing now. This drone will fly around your house and take pictures, and it's kind of scary because it's from Amazon, and their whole thing is to get you to buy shit. So now you're giving them a list of pretty much everything that's in your house that it can see through the drone, but it increases your security. So I don't know. It's kind of, I don't think I would want one of these flying around my house. Yeah, but some people, I could definitely see them this being a novelty thing that they definitely want to have. I mean, don't get me wrong, the technology's cool and the form factor is really neat. And look at that thing. It docks itself into the base station, and it comes up and it flies. I mean, that's really neat from a technology perspective. It's really small and, you know, whatevs. Whatever floats your boat. If you want it, go get it. If you don't get it. Next, we've got a Texas firm called Chainalysis. That's supposed to be like chain analysis. They won a $2 million IRS contract, and they're supposed to crack Monero. As you know, Monero is one of those cryptocurrencies that is really, really hard to track, and the IRS wants to be able to track it so that they can get people to pay taxes on cryptocurrency stuff, because that's one of the way people avoid paying taxes is by putting their money into cryptocurrency so they don't have to pay the taxes on it. I do not think this is going to be feasible for them to do technologically. Yes, there is blockchain analysis with Bitcoin, but the way Monero works, it's a little bit different, and I don't think it's going to be that easy to crack. But you never know. Maybe they'll do it. Maybe they won't.
I think this may be a reference to the scanner. I don't know if we have time to actually show it online. But you know what? In future tool reviews, that might be kind of cool to actually show it in action.
I plan to in the future, TeamMaker 502. I don't have my VM ready right now, but I will definitely in the future be doing that. Okay. Plans for Elon Musk's inspired 700-mile-per-hour Hyperloop bullet train for Southwest Florida and Aldi Alert. All right. Can you imagine going in a freaking bullet train underground?
I see.
By Elon Musk that's going 700
miles. Before it was above ground.
Is this above ground? Oh yeah, it's above ground. I apologize. I misinterpreted the picture because
there's a guy who goes by the name Thunderfoot online who did a questioning of this entire idea of the system because it requires, my understanding, a vacuum tube. Right, not a vacuum tube in the sense of electronics, but a tube that is largely removed of air.
Sealed.
And he was talking about how you could hit it with like a 50 caliber rifle and fuck the entire system up.
That would be accurate.
Yeah, it would have to be a near vacuum to eliminate wind resistance.
I mean, they could put it in a vacuum tube, but then like instead of having it just be metal, instead of just being glassish, put like some kind of metal exterior to make it harder for people to fuck with.
Metal exterior. What will a Browning 50 cal go through, Darren?
A lot.
Darren's breaking up.
You basically have to armor plate everything. A 50 caliber will go through almost everything.
Well, not almost everything. It'll go through a lot. The big problem I see is if you try and metal plate it, is if for some reason the train stops, or it somehow gets stuck, that makes it a lot harder to get people out of there, or to extricate people, or to render aid, or to even evacuate. So
I know there's a video
fire.
I know there's a video by Thunderfoot talking about the impracticalities of building such a thing, but I honestly don't know.
Yeah, that's just my very first thought is, okay, what if people have to get out, or what if people have to get out and it's a vacuum? Well, okay, how hard is it to get people out then? Because you have to then flood the system, etc.
All right. Next, we've got Cambridge Tech Scene questions NVIDIA's commitment to an AI lab after a $40 million ARM deal. So as you guys know, NVIDIA's buying ARM, ARM being advanced RISC machines, and those being essentially what power your Android phone and your Raspberry Pi and things of that nature. It's a processor architecture that is pretty good for certain applications, but very bad at certain other applications.
So what's it good and bad at? Because it's used a lot in smartphones, and as you said before, I think the Raspberry Pi, and way back in like 80s, it was originally developed for some kind of personal computer, if I remember correctly.
Right. So extreme multitasking is not good with RISC architecture. Many threads open at the same time, no good. But it is very good at simple things that need to be done quickly. I don't know how to really articulate that very well, other than say, like, if you got a program and it needs to do some very simple shit, RISC is your way to go. If you have some really complicated shit, x64 or x86 is a better architecture. But for a lot of stuff we do, like web browsing or, I don't know, very simple applications, very simple games, ARM is very good.
Some of my friends.
Yeah, the RISC chips also, they're very low power.
Yes.
Very low power.
And also, the new MacBooks are using ARM architecture and a custom compiled version of Unix that allows it to run some x86 code, so it can run regular Mac applications that were not written for ARM architecture.
That'd be awesome if they made one for Linux or Windows that did the same thing. I like the ARM architecture. Some of the Chromebooks are made of ARM,
It's a cool architecture. I'm not shitting on it. I'm just saying it's good for some things and not for other things.
Oh yeah. I didn't try to say you were shitting on it. It's cool though. I like it.
Like, if you want to crack a password, you're not gonna be able to do that on ARM pretty well.
No, not at all.
But GPUs, on the other hand, fucking A, because GPUs are excellent for password cracking.
I just got an 8 gig Raspberry Pi 4B.
Those are pretty nice. I got one of those too. They're very interesting little things. Speaking of Raspberry Pi 4, with that 8 gig box you got now, you could run Zen Hypervisor on that now, which I didn't think I would ever hear was a thing that was going to happen. Apparently, you can run an actual copy of Zen on it. It's fucking pretty cool. Talks about here how they were able to get it to work despite some issues with register addresses being in the wrong places and DMA addresses not translating properly. They put a lot of effort into it, and they were able to overcome those issues. So now it can do some very interesting stuff. They also were able to overcome a limitation where there was only 1 gig allocated at a time of memory. They fixed that, so now you can allocate all the RAM that's on your Pi to your VMs. It's pretty much designed for the RPI 4 8 gig. It has a U-boot binary. Yeah, it looks really neat. I want to play with it. I'm wondering how much x86 type stuff will actually run virtualized on a Pi. I don't have very high hopes, but it would be interesting to see if I could get Windows. They already got Windows 10 working on one of these, but like an actual copy of Windows 10 that's designed to run on a regular PC rather than an IoT version of Windows 10 to run on a Pi through virtualization. That would be really cool. I don't know if it would actually work. It's probably mostly designed for IoT shit, industrial gateways, things like that. Still really cool, though. Definitely a neat use of time to build something like that. Very cool home lab type shit as well.
I got an add-in board that allows you to access an SSD, and it's a Geekworm product.
Nice. Does it go over USB 3?
USB 3.
Yeah. The limitation with USB 3, I think, is 300 megs a second. So it's not going to be able to access the full capabilities of the solid-state drive, but it's still going to be a lot faster than SD card storage that's on there.
I have older SSDs, so it's not going to bother me.
Yeah. Next, we're going to talk about Blackberry buying Cylance and how that's a stupid idea. Blackberry, as you know, is the defunct phone company. They used to make really cool cell phones that a lot of us had back in the day, and some really cool enterprise stuff so that people who worked in business could use Blackberries for business reasons. And yeah, they bought a bunch of shit lately. One of the things they bought was Cylance. I don't know why a phone company is buying a cybersecurity company that makes AI-powered antivirus, but they did. Spent $108 million doing so, up to $151 million actually. All right. The article, I didn't read it. I skimmed it, and I'm not going to bullshit. But it looks pretty interesting, and if this is something you're interested in learning about, go read it. Okay. Now all the other shit we got. Last week, who remembers all the Jackie Singh bullshit going on?
I don't know if I can comment on this without causing more drama to my.
Oh, you can't. She doesn't know me though. Well, she doesn't know me under this handle. So
still bring it to me though. Let's just say she's caused a lot of drama for various people. Like what is it? UK Daniel. I can't remember Daniel's last name. Pilgrim, myself, and a few others. So continue.
All right. So the article talks about how senior cybersecurity advisor to Joe Biden's campaign has spent years affiliating with hacker groups and boasted on a personal blog about breaking into her neighbor's computer. Jackie Singh, who joined the Biden campaign in July as a senior cybersecurity incident responder and threat analyst, was an affiliate of the hacking organization, the Gay N Association of America, GNAA, known for their DEF CON pizza parties, and was headed by Weave, otherwise known as Andrew Orenheimer. I'm not sure I said that last name right, but whatever, we're going to move on.
It's close enough.
Logs obtained by the Washington Examiner from various IRC chat rooms dating back to the 80s that are IRC being a chat protocol popular with hackers. Shows Singh to be a contributor to toxic culture and overt racism, and which is weird because I believe she's Indian.
As I recall, I think I've been told part Dominican, part Pakistani, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well,
okay.
is basically a Sikh from India, not most of Pakistan is Muslim.
Well, regardless of her heritage, she seems to be quite a racist and has written on Twitter that her role with the Biden campaign focused on working tirelessly to ensure the digital safety of the campaign. Now, look, from a purely tech standpoint, hiring a hacker who knows their shit, whether or not they have a questionable background, can be a really good thing for a company or an organization, because if a hacker knows their shit, they can probably protect you from a lot of shit, like maybe a DDoS attack, putting you behind Cloudflare or something. I don't know. Just a shitty example off the top of my head. But in this case, the person that they hired, whose name is Jackie Singh, under the username Jax, would routinely spam advertisements for the GNAA, which relied on shock messaging to attract members in IRC channels. Screenshots show she used the handle Jax on Strickham, a defunct platform popular in mid-2000s. And she used Jax on IRC as well. Evidence providing a picture of her background raises serious questions about the vetting process of the Biden campaign in hiring, several weeks before the Democratic nominee faces President Trump for the keys to the White House. Obviously, if you're running a political campaign, you don't want to be associated with anybody who's got skeletons in their closet or dirty laundry.
You probably don't want to be associated with anybody. You probably don't want to be associated with Weave. Then again, so many people intersect know Weave. And I got to admit, even I have had conversations with Weave on Twitter and such.
Yeah, me too. But regardless,
I'm more concerned about what she said herself. But
right, it's not so much who she associated with. We've all associated with people who maybe have done bad things.
A ton of people know Weave from before. Plenty of people know Weave from way before the swastika tattoo and the various other things he's done. But that's a lot of people in InfoSec.
Yeah, I used to talk to him before he took over the Daily Stormer. He's actually a pretty nice guy. At least he seems to be. Regardless. Jackie Singh talks about her relationship with Weave some more. We don't care about that. We're going to move on. Back when she was in the IRC chat rooms, she would often link to tweets from her personal account boasting about how she would troll politicians such as Governor and 2016 Republican candidate Jeb Bush. Photos provided by the Examiner show how in 2018 at a Telefreak party, a phone-based hacking collective affiliated with 2600. Other photos showed Singh at events with 2600 people. You know what? Those things are fine. Outside of the IRC channel, she briefly maintained a personal live journal under the pseudonym Jaxum, where she discussed issues with her first marriage and frustrations in the workplace. The blog has been deleted, but there is an archive that remains viewable in the Wayback Machine.
It seems that all of her old tweets have also been deleted, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Remember, kids, the internet doesn't forget.
The internet,
well, sort of. That's not a
man.
The internet, if no one's looking, some of the internet can indeed slip away.
So she boasted about breaking into the laptop of her neighbor, who was a purported Halliburton employee, and described the victim with homophobic slurs. She has a history on the IRC chats of saying racist things when she's hanging out with Weave. She claims now that she's never been a member of that group and that the chat logs are all forged.
I've seen the chat logs going around.
Who's going to have time to generate like 15 years of chat logs?
I don't know if she was ever officially part of that group, but I've seen chats going back a few years.
There's chats of her recruiting for that group, and if you're not part of a group, I don't know why you would recruit for it.
Okay.
Maybe she wanted in. Maybe she was like a groupie or something.
Yeah. My objections to Jackie Singh goes to she's incompetent. All right, for real. She is not managing cybersecurity. I mean, she should be fired. She should not even put anything on social media while she's working for a political campaign. It needs to be operational secrets. I mean,
well, to be fair, and I hate being the one to defend Jackie on anything, this was all before she got involved in the campaign.
Well, that's true, but if she would have kept everything quiet, stayed off social media, locked her accounts, did the whole shebang, then remember, a political campaign is going to be attacked by state actors, rogue state actors and everything else. You got to be secret about it. I mean, it's only for a few months.
Yeah.
Well, only for a few months, but then the next campaign season comes up. You're trying for re-election, and that shit may come up again if there were a
And
preview.
you also realize a lot of people in these campaigns, if their people get elected, they get appointed to positions in government that are usually equivalent to what they were doing during the campaign.
Well,
So-
I mean, she should have just, gone silent running, and none of this stuff would have come up. I mean, and that's the whole point. When you're in cybersecurity, you don't go put everything out there. You are protecting the people you're working for. The main thing you're doing is protecting your clients. Period. She has one job, not going and spitting propaganda on social media.
I'm going to have to unfortunately disagree with you there, because when you're young, oftentimes you say and do stupid shit online, and those things that you did when you were an idiot shouldn't necessarily define your future forever.
What I'm saying is, what is she doing now? Okay, she's been blabbing out on social media. Oh, I'm working for Biden, and then attacking people and doing stuff. I mean, she should have shut up, blocked her account. Okay, not mention it, not even put that she's working for Biden. Okay.
Oh, I agree with you there. Once she got the job at the Biden campaign, she should have just killed the Find Evil account completely, and like anything she tweeted should have been from like a different account that maybe people didn't know was actually her. Like, she did go after people, yeah, and she tried to cancel people too. She tried to use her influence to like get people kicked out of InfoSec jobs and look up their employers and do bad things. So yeah, look, I'm not defending the chick. I'm just saying that if we were all idiots once, and we shouldn't all be judged now for the stupid shit we did back then.
Yeah, I'm judging her.
She's an idiot now as well. So
I'm judging her on her operational security right now. She's just incompetent. I mean, anybody who's going to manage cybersecurity needs to manage it, and there's some policies need to be put in place immediately.
I'll agree with you there. This news we're looking at now is a little old. It's over a week old, but it's still good story here. Cyber insurers security scans reduce ransomware claims by 65%. And this makes a lot of sense, right? So underwriters who are going to be writing a policy for somebody to have cybersecurity insurance, if they say first you have to have somebody run a scan on your external attack surface and maybe remediate the things that are found, you're going to reduce the amount of people who have claims by a lot, right? Because a lot of companies will say, yeah, we're just going to buy cybersecurity insurance and forget about it. If we get hacked, we have insurance, and now these insurance companies are getting ransomware claims up the wazoo because these companies have all this low-hanging fruit that they don't know about. So if you are going to insist before giving them a policy that they have a scan done of their external attack surface, the likelihood they're going to file a claim will be less. I think that kind of makes sense. What we see a lot, RDP. Inept systems administrators, for whatever the F reason, love forwarding port 3389 directly to the internet. I don't know why they do this. I guess it's like they have no idea about security, and somebody's like, I want to work from home. Can you just forward my desktop to the internet? And they do it. And then somebody brute forces their way in, and then they use that computer as a starting point and spread to the rest of the network. This shit happens over and over again. Also, companies don't patch. Getting patch management right is a pain in the fucking ass because there's a million different third-party programs, and then you got Microsoft who's only going to patch their own shit. Even if you get SCCM, you then have to kind of figure out how you're going to get patches for third-party shit. And say you find a cool program that actually can do all the things and you figure it out and you implement it, there might be some idiot user who's done something on their workstation that makes it so it doesn't get those updates. It's hard. So
I'll be right back. I got to go drain the main vein.
Have fun. Take a picture. It'll last longer.
Oh, you want me to put it back into the chat?
What?
You want me to post a picture into the chat?
No,
Please
thank you.
I can save it to my phone and stream that also, maybe.
Oh, God. What did I start?
Yeah, don't do that. Remember, the internet is forever.
It is. Your passwords, right? Companies recycle passwords all the time, or they'll even like add a digit to it, or the password is summer 2020, freaking stupid shit, right? Don't allow for easy passwords, and then don't make people change their passwords every month because that's freaking stupid. But make them pick a secure password in the first place, and use a freaking password manager. Make everyone use a password manager, and then do not. The hell was I going with this? Do not let them use stupid passwords on websites. Like, don't let them use the same password on every website. Make them use a secure password and save it all to the password manager. That's how you do it right, I think. It's my opinion.
Well,
go ahead.
I may create some really interesting passwords for certain individuals. So, they sometimes they exceed the password length limits on some of their stuff, but like Outlook is 16 digits. I like to go with like 21 to 25, but that's me. And usually I'll put some really absurdities into the passwords with characters and everything else, and I make it so they can remember it, and they do. So it works for me.
Yeah, but yeah, you know it.
Well,
they're the only ones who are supposed to know it.
I forget the stuff. I create passwords so long that I forget them.
In an ideal situation, the user will create their own password and be able to remember that password, and it will be complicated enough that it is not something that can be easily guessed or brute forced.
Yeah, but
if a hacker's going to get in and they're able to dump the hashes of the computer, it don't matter how strong you made the password; they can just pass the hash. They don't even need to crack it.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna say, but at the same time, the balance of two, you don't make it so complex that they keep forgetting it, because the moment you change your password, oh crap, what's the new password? And now I have to reset it, and this will happen several times. So it's a delicate balancing act.
Right. I mean, when I did contract work for ExxonMobil, and this was like back in 2000, they made me change the password every 30 days, and I got really good at coming up with new passwords. And I was fine with it. I mean, that's how they did things. And that was a Windows 2000 server.
Yeah. Well, it's actually, studies have shown that making users change their password every 30 days leads to really insecure passwords.
Yeah, because you don't have time to memorize it, so you're going to change it every so... You're changing something really stupid and simple. Or you're going to do the appending trick. So, that's dumb.
And last but not least, the other thing that companies really need to do is have a backup plan. Like, it's not enough to say that you've got a NAS on the network and everybody's computer gets backed up to that NAS every now and then. That's a very shitty backup plan. You need to be able to actually test it and make sure it's working. So they have a thing called the 3-2-1 rule. You got to have it in like 3 places. And I don't remember what the hell the 3-2-1 rule is, but you got to have like a backup off site. You got to have a backup on site, and you have to be able to restore your backups to the computers. You can do that periodically to make sure your backups are actually working and that you can recover in a normal amount of time. Regardless, that's from RSA Con, and it was a presentation by the FBI.
The 3-2-1 rule is you have 3 copies of your backups. You have 3 iterations. You go back. They're stored in 2 locations, and one of which is offsite.
Oh crap! There's a different 3-2-1 rule for conferences. I can't remember what it was. I remember it was It was at least 2 meals a day and 1 shower a day, but I don't remember what the 3 was.
You got to ask Dave; he'll know.
Dave, actually, the one I first heard it from was Skydog Trevor.
I would say probably 3 hours of sleep, 2 meals in a shower.
That yes, I think you are exactly.
I think the shower is probably the most important one. I've smelled some really bad people at cons.
And I would say that's not enough sleep because holy shit, you're gonna be a fucking zombie on that.
And dude, the shower thing. Yeah, people complain about hacker convention smelling bad, and yes, I smelled some funk in Las Vegas at DEF CON. JerbyCon didn't smell particularly funky, but nothing compares to a fucking gamer convention.
Yes, there is. New York Comic Con. I've smelled things at New York Comic Con that I don't want to ever.
Okay, I can believe that, but I would dare say that their group intersects a whole lot with gaming conventions.
Beer time.
Yeah, I went to AllCon here, which is a local convention for that, and it's like, yeah, that was pretty bad. There was
this came up about 15 years ago at a fucking are you ever been to Gen Con?
No, but I want to go at some point. I know it's kind of local to you, kind of.
Kind of. It's in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
But at that conference, I think we came up with the Con Funk Awareness ribbon. I'm putting the link in the chat if you want to see it.
I would say you take a step further and you start shaming people. Like you give them awards if they're like particularly egregious. I mean, that can backfire. That people really want to stink it up, but it's. Do you really want to be recognized as someone who smells so fucking bad that they get an award for it?
But no, it's about awareness. It's not about giving them a prize. But look up the Con Funk Awareness ribbon. I already put it in the chat.
All right, so I got another one, an article I did not put in the show notes that I just pulled up from my phone. That's actually pretty interesting. You guys know the whole zero login thing that's been going? There's a tabs option here somewhere. New tab? No. All right, maybe history. From my phone. Oh, that's embarrassing. Okay, I give up. It's around here somewhere, but I can't find it. I'll just Google it. So, zero login attacks against DC's Snowball. There we go. That'll find it. All right. So the thing that's going on now is people are using zero login against Microsoft domain controllers a lot because it is an easy way to pop a DC if you've got a shell on the network on a box that authenticates to the DC. So now all you really need to do is, if you want to be domain admin and they haven't patched their shit, is to run the zero login attack, which is going to run a whole bunch of iterations of the zero. The attempt to log in, it's going to try over and over again until 2 variables are set to 0 that allows for the attacker to log in as admin. So Talos put out an advisory about it. It's a flaw. We all know about it. Everyone's telling you patch your shit. Well, people now are not patching their shit, and they got a million windows open on their computers. And because they're not patching their shit, then they're getting owned. Because all it takes is to get on a box now, and you can become domain admin. So you pop a single user, you can use your shell on that user's account to pop the DC. Yeah, it's happening a lot. I'm going to take that, and I will put it in the show notes where it belongs, because it belongs there. And yeah, it's from Threat Post. So yeah, there's that. I'll fix that later.
I force users to update by group policy, so it's and even if an update breaks something, which occasionally they do, I can usually fix it. So
yeah, that can work. But people who have local admin can exempt themselves from group policy changes. Right. So yeah, I was going to talk about zero login last week, how the attack actually works. So that's the article I was going to use. And cryptography is hard to get right, and cryptography blunders can take years to spot. Are the two big things here. When you go to authenticate via net login, you have the session key, the net login credential computation, the authenticator computation and verification, and the session key negotiation. If you do enough requests to the server, you can eventually get the server to set the client challenge and the server challenge to all be zeros. And when that happens, you can log in with a null session key. And that allows you to pretty much get domain admin right away from any user's box on the network to the domain controller. So all this attack does is keep trying to connect until it gets those two variables to be zero, and it can be between 1 and 256 for each one. So you'd imagine it's not that many computational times until it will hit zeros for both of them. Yeah, so that's the attack in a nutshell. If you're interested in the actual specifics of how this works, I recommend you check out the article here. It is linked in last week's show notes. And it's an interesting technical read if you're interested in authentication or encryption. Okay. Snort and AV. Snort. You guys know what Snort is? It's like a open source kind of IDS solution. You can use Snort now, along with some rules, to pick up a Cobalt Strike beacon. Cobalt Strike is an interesting tool. Attackers and people pretending to be attackers use that. It's kind of like Metasploit. It's actually can run the Metasploit exploits, but it's got a GUI. It's written by Raphael Mudge, and it has a cool beacon shell rather than a traditional interpreter payload. So say you get a shell on somebody's box, rather than it directly calling you back and opening a TCP connection over, say, HTTPS to your listener that's persistent and stays open, it will periodically connect back to your machine and then look for commands that need to be run and then run them and then stay radio silent and then wait a while and then check back in and see if there's anything else to run and then run it. It's a more covert way of doing it because people who are watching the networks are usually looking for something that looks like a straight up TCP connection outbound going to a malicious actor's computer, but this is not that because it is a beacon where it beacons back and forth. So using a combination between Snort and Clam antivirus signatures, you can now pick up obfuscated and exfiltrated data via Cobalt Strike. Essentially, it's an open source solution that allows you to use, well, two solutions working in tandem that allow you to pick up this particular threat that a lot of bad guys use and a lot of pen testers. Yeah, so it's an interesting read. If you are interested in this stuff, check it out. If you're interested in Cobalt Strike, but you don't have the money to buy it or you're too lazy to crack it, there's another tool out there called Armitage that is kind of like Cobalt Strike minus the professional features. And it's a cool tool to learn on if you're interested in that shit. So you might want to play with it if you're interested in pen testing or any of the similar fields. Just like how you can get Burp Suite free and then Burp Suite Professional, it's the same kind of thing. except that's for web apps, and this is for straight up exploits and hacking, command and control type shit. That's that article. St. Clair County, Alabama, is victims of a cyber attack. Oh no. They're not that big of a school district. They got ransomware. It happened. It sucks. Not really much info on it though, and tough shit for them. This was an interesting read. I remember kind of from last week. Suspicious endpoint containment with OSEC. The OSEC agent is something you install on your people's computers, and it forwards the logs over to your log server, and you can inspect those logs and look for weird shit going on. A lot of people like OSEC. It's a good tool to do this kind of shit. This will allow you, if you have an endpoint that's become compromised, to turn off network access from that endpoint to the rest of the network, with the exception of the machines you whitelist that would be used to maybe mitigate what's going on and communicate with that machine, like your log server and shit like that. So it's a good way to do host isolation using the OSEC agent and its built-in functionality of being able to run commands as well on the systems that it's monitoring. So that's pretty cool read. This is just a synopsis of it here, even though it's kind of looks like a long read. It's actually not that long. Talks about how you can do it. And there's a longer read up here if you click this, and that will lead you to like a whole freaking paper on how you can do this in an enterprise environment. So if you're looking to do some security onion type shit or some alien vault or anything where you want to kind of monitor a network, setting up the OSEC agents so they can do shit like this is pretty cool, because if you get somebody's machine that's infected, you can immediately cut off the access of that machine from maybe causing more damage. So like Alabama, the place in Fairfax County has also been hacked. I don't know what accent that was. We don't care about that though. This one's pretty interesting. So a kid helps detect an iOS and Android scam app that's got 2.4 million downloads. So researchers said a tip from a child led them to discover an aggressive adware and exorbitant prices lurking in iOS and Android smart apps with a combined 2.4 million downloads from the App Store and Google Play. These apps pose as entertainment applications such as wallpaper things or music downloads and things that would you typically expect to have ads in them, but you wouldn't necessarily expect them to be having the ability to charge $2 to $10 for clicking a certain part of the app. Maybe like a child using a phone and they download an app to do something like maybe change the wallpaper, and before you know it, they've made several micro purchases that have been authorized through the App Store that has cost them a lot of money. So they thanked the young girl who reported the TikTok profile that was used to distribute the app, which I don't know how you do that, but In other news, I actually installed TikTok on my phone recently. I know it's horrible, but I did it because the girl I like wanted to send me TikTok videos, so I did it. But I have my network set up so they can see all the traffic going between my phone and the app outside, and I was looking through it, and it looks like TikTok does not even use HTTPS for a lot of shit. And you can just kind of see that traffic if you're looking on the network, which is a little scary. Okay, that's that article, and we got another article on LokiBot. which is some malware that steals your most sensitive data. It is malicious. It is persistent. It's around. There's a notable increase in LokiBot malware. Cyber actors have, it's been getting more and more since July, essentially. They are monitoring it at the CISA Einstein Intrusion Detection System, which protects federal civilian branch networks. It's not as bad as Emotet. Emotet's pretty bad. Emotet will get on your computer, and then the bad guys will use Emotet to see if there's anything valuable on your computer or the network you're connected to. And if there is, then they will pull down some other shit, other malware, Ryuk, and then Ryuk will wreak havoc and encrypt everything. This particular malware has a keylogger built in that will record passwords that the users type, along with sensitive keystrokes. They're going to harvest your passwords from your browsers, your admin tools. They're going to try and steal any cryptocurrency you've got on the system in a wallet. It's got about 100 different applications that can go through to find interesting data that can be sold or used for profit. According to the MITRE ATT&CK framework, these are the different things that it actually does. It is using HTTP for command and control, which I find interesting because that means our security guys would actually be able to see it in real time. It obfuscates things with base64, which again is pretty easy to deobfuscate. You know, like a plugin, and then you go and, well, I don't have it here, but normally it would be here, and I would say like decode base64. Good way you can tell if something is base64 encoded is at the end it will have an equal sign. It will send back the Windows name and version, and it can be executed through malicious documents that are contained in spear phishing emails. So your user downloads what they think is a Word document, and they go to open it, and it says, "You want to run macros?" And they click yes. Boom, they're owned. It can steal credentials from multiple applications and data sources, including OS credentials, email clients, FTP, secure transfer, yada, yada, yada. Essentially, all the things you'd expect malware to be able to do, it can do those things. All those areas of the stuff. Yeah, the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So I still think it's really interesting. Their C2 channel is HTTP. You know, that's weird. I've seen people really try to obfuscate the C2. Like they'll use DNS queries, or they'll use all sorts of shit to make it the C2 server look harder to find. That doing over HTTP is just lazy. I'm wondering if this is really growing faster than the other one, or if they're just seeing it more because it's doing C2 over HTTP. That's an interesting question. Two rogue employees screw over Shopify. Shopify is a website that is essentially an e-commerce store. It's an e-commerce giant, rather. And they have had a security breach caused by two rogue employees. You always got to look out for that insider threat. Everyone's always looking for these hackers to come in from the outside, but no one suspects your employees might be a little jaded or whatever, just walking out with your data. So two members of its support team accessed and tried to obtain customer transaction details from the shop owners, the merchants. So like imagine this is a platform and they resell the ability for people to process credit card transactions on their websites, and they will do the actual transactions processing. Their employees then try to get access to the credit card data that was being traversed through the network to the, you know what I mean. They tried to get the data, and they got caught because they didn't do a good job hiding what they were doing. FBI is involved. They reached out to all the people, and they let them know it happened, and that happened. And Russia wants to ban encryption. I thought that was just us. Aren't we the ones who just want to ban encryption? Yeah, Russia's into it too again, apparently. It's nice to see that we are agreeing with Russia on things. Then we want to get rid of TLS 1.3 because they can't crack TLS 1.3. 1.2 you can crack open. 1.3 you can't. DOH is awesome. You know, your DNS queries are normally routed to the DNS servers, and if the government can see the traffic, they can see where you're going. But if you're using DOH, it's routed over HTTPS or TLS, and it's encrypted. So when you go to google.com, they don't know you went to google.com. They just know you have an outgoing web connection. DOT, SNI, all the fun shit. This was written by our friend Catalin Simpanu from Zero Day. He writes really good articles. So, according to some proposed amendments and an explanatory note, the ban targets Internet protocols technologies such as TLS 1.3, DOH, DOT, and ESNI. HTTPS traffic has leaks. While HTTPS encrypts the contents of an internet connection, there are various techniques that third parties and telcos can use to see where your users are going, as well as the government. The primary techniques used by telcos is inspecting your DNS traffic, analyzing the SNI, or server name identification field in HTTPS traffic, which can be faked. So the first technique works because browsers and apps make DNS requests in plain text. The second is because SNI field in HTTPS connections is still unencrypted. So even though there's an HTTPS connection between point A and point B, the little area of data that is unencrypted says where you're going, and they can use that to kind of see where you're going because it says where you're going. DOH, like I said, it'll encrypt it. DOT, same shit. It's DOH is DNS over HTTPS. DOT is DNS over TLS. The ironic thing is HTTPS is usually actually TLS now anyways, so whatever. Combined with TLS 1.3, it can prevent SNI leaks, which means that they'll no longer be able to see the unencrypted part of your traffic. They will just be able to, get through. They can't see it. Like, it's direct connection between point A and point B. They don't know who's who. The Great Firewall of China, of course, blocks HTTPS traffic and TLS 1.3 and ESNI. So Russia wants to be like China. Furthermore, Russia's telecommunications ministry has been running a de facto national firewall through its regulatory power over the ISPs. So they got that going for them already. What they're probably worried about is a lot of the browsers, Firefox, Chrome, Opera, they're all going with DOH now by default when you download it. So it's no longer using straight up DNS, and they can't see where people are going. And if the government doesn't know where people are going on the internet, then they could be going to do bad things. Why? We need to protect the children and block DOH. It's evil. All right. Anybody still alive? I'm just talking to myself for a while here now.
No,
I'm here.
I like encryption, and I think that trying to ban it is a stupid thing.
Yep.
This one's nice. A little bug in some older versions of Firefox. If you got a somebody nearby you who's using like Firefox Mobile, you can screw with them if they're on the same Wi-Fi network as you. You can essentially redirect people to go to a website you want them to go to if they're on a mobile Firefox and they're on the same LAN as you. That's the whole thing with the bug. It has to do with SSDP, Civil Service Discovery Protocol, and it's not that hard to run this proof of concept code that's right here. And it's a Python script. You just run it, and yeah, it's not even a long Python script, but you essentially run this, and you tell it what site you want the people to go to, and it will redirect people on the same lane as you who are using the mobile device in those browsers to go to where you want them to. Look, it already happens. Like if you connect your mobile device to a network that's new to it, like an open Wi-Fi, this is the same technology that allows them to then redirect you to their login page, right? That shit. So this is using that same kind of stuff, right? And it's then turning it against the users so that they'll go to the website you want them to go to. Yeah. It's funny. You could rickroll some people with this maybe. Or you could use it for worse things like phishing. But still, like go to an airport Wi-Fi and then do it. And then like everybody on the airport Wi-Fi just goes to the site you want them to. And maybe it's like set up to look like it's the airport's Wi-Fi and charge them to use the access point for a little while. And people start putting their credit cards in and you're gathering all that. I don't know. That's just a thought of a way it could be used. But I wouldn't actually do that because I'm a good boy. I'm not.
I'd rather Rick roll them just for the lulz on that.
We got the Iranians hacking our satellites. That's a thing that's happening. So 3 Iranian nationals, and look, they're not directly hacking our satellites. Like they don't have satellite equipment. They're hacking the freaking companies that own the satellites through like spear phishing and crap like that. So they accused, I can't pronounce any of these dudes' names, but 3 Iranian nationals of hacking satellite companies. According to documents, the hackers operated creating fake online profiles, email accounts, assume the identities of individuals, usually U.S. citizens working in aerospace and satellites, and then using that access to gain company secrets and like that. And it's not overly complicated. It's a social engineering attack that's just digital.
So let's see if I can pronounce it. Saeed Pukarim Arabi, Mohammed Reza Espargaram, and Mohammed Bayati.
Very good. That's much better than I would have done. I would have completely butchered them.
I didn't do them like I should, but I don't speak the language.
Right. So remember a few weeks ago we were talking about how on the cryptocurrency sites, like the Bitcoin tumblers, how people were essentially setting up their own Tor exit nodes. And then when somebody on their exit node would go to a Bitcoin tumbler, they would kind of proxy the traffic and then change the wallet address so that the money they're trying to send someone would actually go to them rather than their intended destination, despite in the website looking like it went where it was supposed to go. So now we're charging 2 Russians for stealing $16.8 million via what we're calling cryptocurrency phishing sites, which if you look at it, these are not actually cryptocurrency phishing sites. These are Bitcoin exchanges. So they're phishing people on exchanges, and they're also doing this other crap, and they made a lot of money. And we're going after them. I don't know why we're going after them. They're not from here. The people they went after were probably not from here, but it's our job to go after everybody who does something bad on the internet. So we're going after these guys. They're Russians. We're going to get them.
Because the Russian government encouraged them to do that and fund their hacking activities. The Russian government doesn't want to pay for it. They just want the information they gather.
That's true. Next, we've got a unique way of doing C2. I was talking before about how a lot of different bad guys will try and obfuscate their C2 in different ways, and this is pretty novel. They're using the finger command, which is an old command from Unix systems that is also present on Windows systems, to work as a C2 channel, bypassing a lot of security software. So Windows TCP Finger, finger.exe, is on all the versions of Microsoft Windows. And you can use it to make a query to another Finger daemon and retrieve user information. The Finger client can also serve as a server using the disk redirection operator. Okay, that makes sense. So essentially by piping its output somewhere different. Intruders who compromise a computer may find it locked down or unable to run certain applications or download their tools, right? So by using the native Windows programs, in other words, a living off the land binary, which I was talking about earlier, it's possible that they could get around some whitelisted security programs and be allowed to download files. For instance, certutil is necessary for logging on to Windows, so they're not going to usually block it, but you can use it to pull down another file from the internet. Right. So using Finger for C2 works by abusing the user token in the Finger query protocol, because C2 commands marked as Finger queries can download files and exfiltrate data without Windows Defender having known what's going on. And they give an example of this here. You're pulling down a file from a remote host, and then you're just redirecting the output and making it look like a text file. Cool shit. They got a couple different examples of ways you can use Finger to exfiltrate data and to pull down other stuff. Using it in conjunction with Netcat. Yeah, very good. Pretty clever. And they got a whole program called Darkfinger, right, which is a C2 server for running on the Finger protocol. It also takes advantage of PSExec, I see, which is nice. I wonder if I'd be able to see this if I did this across my network. I had to go to a command and control server in the cloud. Play with that tomorrow. The operational art of cybercrime. This is by this guy, the Grug. This guy hates me on Twitter. Anyway, cybersecurity. He doesn't hate me. I'm just teasing. He, may have blocked me. But, I am kind of an asshole. So, cybercrime rewards innovative organizations. These can innovate at the tactical level, the strategic level, or the operational level. Management of resources and personnel to achieve strategic objectives. All right, so we're talking about cybercrime is freaking lucrative. A lot of bad guys are making a lot of money, and at this point, it's kind of becoming very similar to traditional businesses where they have customer service and everything, where these like ransomware operations actually have employees who are paid hourly and like work at desks and office buildings, and it's like a whole big freaking thing, like it's a real business. And what they're doing is they're working with people who've been infected with ransomware, and they are the bad guys, but they are very organized and structured, and that's pretty much what this talks about, and how there's actually project management going on with criminals now, where they're treating it like a real business, not like a crime enterprise, but like this is a legit freaking business, and we're just our main source of revenue happens to be infecting other people's computers. So it's really weird, but it's happening. And he talks about how there's different roles. There's managers, operators, developers. How they make money. They survey networks. They select targets. They research people. They recruit assets over email. Oh, it's like real business for hackers, man. It's kind of interesting. It's a decent read. I skimmed it, honestly. I didn't read the whole thing, but It's pretty cool. Check it out if you are interested in learning about the cybercrime business opportunities that are out there. I'm pretty much running out of things to talk about. I got this. So this is about a week old now because it's from last week. But screw you! No, Bloomberg! How dare you? 1 second.
Bloomberg has limited you out, paywalled you out. Shame on them. The nerve of them paywalling you.
That's fine. I got it working. A popular website, post-conspiracy group QAnon, abruptly shut down after fact-checking group identified the developer as a New Jersey man. QMap.pub is among the largest websites promoting the QAnon conspiracy, with over 10 million visitors in July. This is the primary archive of QAnon's posts, and the website aggregates posts by Q, the anonymous figure behind the QAnon theory, and the creator of QMap.pub website is only known online as QAppAnon. The fact-checking site Logically.ai identified Jason Gelinas of New Jersey on September 10th being the developer and mouthpiece for the site. They reached out, they connected, they've got his home address and everything. He declined to comment, and the site then went down. Yep.
They doxed him.
They doxed him, and he, I guess, kind of like, was like, screw this. I'm not running this site while people are doxing me. So the site's not currently up, but, you know, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. This one's pretty funny. I always talk about how operational security is very important, right? And like, we were just talking about with Jackie, how she shouldn't have leaked so much shit online directly to her identity. This person, this idiot who sells drugs online, posted a high-resolution photo of his hand holding the drugs, where they could make out his fingerprint, which they then used to find out who he was and arrest him. Oh, that's great. It's really funny. Yeah, so he goes by Cannabars online. Posted high-res picture of his freaking fingers, really high-res, and they got him from that. He had arrests for selling pot already on his record, and now, idiot. He's great.
What do you think of a modern adult man who wears a trilby hat?
I don't know what a Silby hat is.
Trilby, or T.
Silby hat. You mean like what Deviant wears?
I don't know if he wears one of those. He might.
I'm not sure.
Trilby hat. I'm not sure what that is.
Trilbies are awesome. I like them.
They're kind of like fedoras.
Well,
Yeah, it's not quite like a fedora.
It's kind of. It's a lot of people wear trilbies and they're mistaken for fedoras.
I can agree with. Yes.
It's not a Cuban style fedora type hat. No.
It looks like something he would wear, but I don't know if he actually wears.
I think Tara has though.
You know what? I think you're right. He looked out there. She's way too good looking for him. She's also annoying.
What?
Let's keep my opinions to myself.
Okay.
All right. This one's pretty funny. We got some consultants who work for some people who work for Amazon were taking bribes, so they would rank people's products higher so more people would buy those products. So we indicted well, the DOJ, had nothing to do with it. They indicted 6 people for issuing bribes to give Amazon Marketplace merchants competitive advantages. The bribery bill is steep, but in return, a fraud carried commercial worth and the sales revenue of up to $100 million, the DOJ claims. Since at least 2017, the 6 consultants, 2 third-party sellers at Amazon, and 2 of the individuals operated their own stores, and at least 10 Amazon employees and contractors received kickbacks, including Kunjil, who apparently began as a seller and was then later roped into the scheme as a consultant. Interesting shit. Look, when it comes to Amazon scamming reviews so that people buy shitty products, but they have great reviews, what I see go on now, and I contribute to, is companies who will pay me to buy their product. Like, I buy the thing, right, with my credit card, and then as soon as I get it and I write a nice review, they give me back the money I spent on the product.
Yeah, that's a big violation of Amazon's TOS. So
I've never gotten that.
Oh, I see it all the time. I see the Facebook ads for like, oh yeah, we'll pay you to review our product, etc. It's usually like cheap ass Chinese sellers. So
I've actually gotten some decent hardware from this. I got a couple of USB-C hubs that are really nice. You know, I don't know what happens. So yeah, it's just that they got these shit going on with Amazon, and it always goes on. And they close these guys down, and they have a million more. This dude, and from NS8 is the name of the company, was arrested for defrauding investors up to $123 million. How do you get people to invest $123 million into your company when your company doesn't actually do anything? I don't understand it, but it happens.
Unfortunately, go ahead.
So you don't seem to remember the .com days back when people were buying companies for ludicrous sums of money that were very long on promise but very short on delivery.
I remember those days.
Actually, I think even today, maybe not as bad as back in the .com boom, but there's still people who will invest in things that they somehow think they're going to have potential. They end up not.
Yeah, so his company allegedly had the ability to detect click fraud, right? But they didn't actually create the technology or use it or sell it. They just said they could do it. And people invested, and they took the money and ran. That's great.
Well, I mean, remember, I brought up in the Twitter DMs about this guy named Jonathan Nolan, who was an Australian scammer, and he was trying to do some kind of bank fraud, money laundering thing on Twitter. But he's infamous by the Star Walker scam that he did like 10 years ago, where he raised a ton of money to send Australian nationals into space. And he was on TV and pitching his idea and everything. So there's a sucker born every minute.
That's true. It's still a little old now, but it's still kind of interesting. Bloomberg decided to pay the fines for 32,000 felons in Florida so that they could vote.
And that might be illegal.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be. It depends upon how he goes. Again, I don't know the laws on that one too well. If he paid for them with the intent of them to vote for a certain candidate, or if it was implied, yeah, absolutely, that's super fucking illegal. But if he did it very nonpartisanly, then that's a little more kosher. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but yeah, that it gets tricky.
And because Bloomberg did it, guess who else is going to do it now? LeBron freaking James.
Yeah, same deal. Although I imagine LeBron James is probably not as savvy as Bloomberg is from that. Bloomberg probably has a good army of lawyers who will guide him a proper way of doing it without falling afoul of the mini election laws.
Wait, do we only pass by the Republicans to replace RBG?
They're trying to. I mean, Amy Coney Barrett is the new nominee.
Yeah.
Oh man, did we
They
see
took the article down.
And the Democrats' worst thing they have against her is he's a Roman Catholic.
But did we skip past it in the show notes?
I think we did.
We did, yeah.
Okay, never mind. We'll go back to it later, maybe, because
The article's not there. I'm trying to find it now. For some reason, the link I have for the article is no longer working. But I imagine if I look for the article this way, I can find it.
Oh, I think I see the problem why it's not working. Hold on. You have a backslash in it. That's why.
Oh.
There you go. I fixed it for you.
One sec.
never mind. I didn't mean to derail us
Actually,
from what
no,
we
here,
got past to. I don't have anything to say on that other than she seems to be pro Second Amendment as far as I can tell. So
Yeah, she seems to be very, very big on favoring rights and things like that. So that's what a lot of what her history says.
the only big complaints I heard about her that I might have problems with is kind of sides on corporate interests.
Too many windows.
When she shouldn't. But other than that, sorry. Go back to LeBron James.
Okay. I can't.
What?
Too many windows.
I view it edit mode at all times. By the way, that way I can also tell where the hell your cursor is.
Figure out where the volume is on this.
All right. So this is an article about LeBron James. So, oh, shut up, dude, over there. So, yeah, he's tweeting about how he's going to do it, and the Daily Wire is saying he's going to do it. So, yep. They're saying it's because they don't think the black vote matters, so he's going to make it matter by letting some felons vote or something like that. See, in Florida and a couple other states, felons can vote, but only if they've paid back all the money that they owe to the system from the time that they spent in jail. Because what most people don't realize is when you go to jail, they start charging you like you're staying at a hotel. So, yep, paying that back. So you fixed the link here; it'll work now. All right.
Yep.
Next. So the article here is talking about how in 2005, while bragging about his history of sexual assault, a reality host laid out a simple theory of power. When you're a star, Donald Trump explained to Access Hollywood host Billy Bush, they let you do it. 15 years later, and Trump has gone from The Apprentice to the Oval Office, from grabbing women without their consent to picking women to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court, yet his approach to power has remained quite consistent. When you have the Senate and you have the votes, you can sort of do what you want, he told Fox and Friends.
That's legal. Oh, I'm sorry. We don't actually need to cover this article too in depth. Also, it's the fucking Guardian. They do have the votes.
You're the one who pointed out you wanted to read the article.
Well, I didn't say I wanted to read the article. I just wanted. Well, I kind of want to go back to what it was. Yeah, they have the votes. They have the legal authority to do it. What else do people want to know?
Well, for the longest time, there was no confirmation hearings. It was always put to a floor vote. There wasn't a, they just didn't do this mess. It was not until more recent times they started having confirmation hearings. So that's some historical fact. So really, the Senate, McConnell can just say put it to a floor vote, and they don't have to have any confirmation hearings whatsoever.
So this is pretty interesting. The guy in charge of Wells Fargo, their CEO, has pissed off a lot of people with his comments about diverse talent. He said, while it might sound like an excuse, the unfortunate reality is that there's a very limited pool of black talent to recruit from. Wells Fargo and co-chief executive Charles Scharf expressed some black employees in a Zoom meeting this summer when he reiterated that the bank had trouble reaching diversity goals because there was not enough qualified minority talent. He made the assertion in a company-wide memo and announced diversity initiatives as a nationwide protest broke out following the death of George Floyd. While it might sound like an excuse, the unfortunate reality is that there is a very limited pool of black people to recruit from, he said in the memo. Scharf spent more time listening than speaking during the 90-minute call, which he initiated and has not been previously reported. His comments about black talent rubbed attendees the wrong way, according to two employees who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they feared repercussions. Several black executives across corporate America said they are frustrated by claims of a talent shortage, and they claim the refrain from a major reason that the company has struggled to add enough racial and ethnic diversity to leadership ranks despite stated intentions to do so. There's an amazing amount of black talent here, said Ken Bacon. Bacon. Former mortgage industry executive who is on the board of Comcast, Ally Financial Incorporated, and Welltower. If people say they can't find the talent, they either aren't looking hard enough or don't want to find it. He said he was shocked and puzzled by Scharf's comments. Wells Fargo's latest proxy disclosed more diversity data than those of many other companies, including that 2 of the 12 directors at the time were black and 1 was Hispanic/Latino. Yeah, look, that's a freaking minefield. We talk about that and people are going to yell at us on Twitter.
A lot of times what they're looking for is an Ivy League master's graduate. I mean, that's how they do things. So as far as I'm concerned, Ivy League schools are training grounds for, these C-level managers to rip off the companies they work for.
Yeah. This is an article I thought was interesting. It's like a visual article, like the infographic type thing, but it kind of speaks to the way that a lot of people tend to actually work. Like, looking at the images here, you see, you want somebody to buy shit, right? Simply doing something by taking a cent off can make all the difference because our brain encodes numbers quickly. So the smaller first digit is enough to make the price seem much smaller. So it seems like $2.99 is a lot less than $3. Removing the comma, right? $16.99 versus 1,699, right? Removing the comma makes people think it's less, despite it being the same exact price. So shop layouts are often designed to be confusing and maze-like, forcing people to wander and see more merchandise than they initially planned. This trick is named after the mall architect Victor Gruen, who actually hated such manipulative techniques. How ironic is that? It's named after the guy who hates the technique he invented. You ever go to an IKEA and you just freaking walking around forever and you can't figure out how to get out? That's pretty much that. Touch and mimicry. Researchers shows that a woman's touch, like a brief touch on the shoulder, makes a customer of either gender feel more secure in spending money. Additionally, if a salesperson of either gender imitates your gestures, you are more likely to buy from them. And that's mirroring. If you've ever read a book on social engineering, it's a pretty common tactic you can use to get people to agree with you is just by imitating their body language. Not so much that it is apparent immediately, but enough that consciously they feel that you're the same as them because you look like them and you're doing the same things as them. Use words related to a small amount. High performance, low maintenance. I think Adrian's saying something, but I can't hear a damn word he's saying.
Forget it. Sorry.
Okay. Showing a price in installments rather than the lump sum tricks people into buying shit. For instance, like a car is only $299 a month, but those are for like a billion months. Odd and even pricing also gets people to buy shit. Price ending in an odd number that is right under an even number for some reason works. Like, markdown tag. Like originally it was $5.99, but now it's $4.97. It's not much of a difference, but it's just an interesting little infographic I came across. I thought you guys would appreciate because in our industry, a lot of people are into the whole social engineering thing, and it kind of falls into the way that people work. Yeah. Anyway, you can go look at that if you're interested. Next thing we've got is the entertainment news. New game Cyberpunk 2077, which is very, very hyped. Two things about it. One, the developer who was making the game had promised they would not force their employees to work 6-day weeks, and recently reneged on that because they have a release date coming up and they need them to work 6-day weeks to reach it. And two, they're going to have a shorter campaign, and their reasoning behind that is because a lot of people didn't finish The Witcher 3 because the campaign was too long. One of the reasons I loved The Witcher 3 was because the campaign was so long. Anyway.
I don't know. I after some of the changes I heard they started making last year on Cyberpunk 2020 or 2077, I'm not exactly got high hopes for the game. It just sounds like they're starting to do shit to appease the crowds and.
Well, instead of choose your gender, it says choose your style.
Yeah, and it's like I gotta. I mean, there are certain logical reasons for that, but in terms of the lore, not solely because of fitting in SJWs, but I'm just wondering if this is like the kind of the turning point for CD Projekt Red, where they start going from really, really great to really, really shit.
Yeah. I don't know. The Witcher was like that series of games was amazing. It was probably some of the best games I've ever played.
I mean, CD Projekt Red, they've turned out some absolutely phenomenal shit. I mean, The Witcher was always really good. I know they've done some publishing work for other things too. I mean, they're a really, really good company. They've turned out some really good stuff, but this one's kind of the question mark.
Yeah. Next, we've got article about how malware and other malicious things are on the rise when it comes to Linux systems. Most people think running Linux you are pretty damn safe because most of the malware and crap is aimed at Windows or OS X, but it seems more now than ever there is a lot of malware that is targeting Linux systems. And not many people who are running Linux systems are running any kind of malware, scanning, protection, antivirus, whatever. Between people taking over Docker containers and lots of threat actors actually targeting Linux systems, it is essentially worse now than ever to be in terms of security for Linux, because all these threats out there, and
Yeah.
said most people are not running any kind of antivirus or have any way of identifying that their system may be compromised.
Yeah, and that's something about Linux that kind of bugs me a bit is the OS itself is fairly solid. It's hard to attack just the OS, but yeah, you mentioned stuff like Docker and things like that, and that's usually the entry point. If someone gets a foothold through that and then hops on the system and executes something there locally that gets them some kind of shell, and then boom, now they have access. And yeah, Linux is becoming more and more popular on the back end. I mean, lightweight Linux containers and virtual machines, especially when you have the cloud, shit like that, it's growing and it's cheap. A lot of people are using it.
Yeah. I think probably at least 80% of the web servers out there are on Linux at this point.
At least, if not more.
In more week-old news, we have a member of the Dark Overlord hacking group has been sentenced to 5 years in jail. Nathan Wyatt. He gets 5 years in prison, and he pled guilty. He was a member of the infamous hacking group known as the Dark Overlord, or TDO. I actually never heard of them before, but I guess they are infamous in some circles. He got 5 years in prison and is ordered to pay a lot of money in restitution to victims. He was part of the group since 2016, and they would hack into large companies, steal sensitive data, and then ask for huge ransoms. If the victims didn't pay, they would just sell the data on dark web forums or leak it to the public internet or tip off journalists to the breach in order to generate negative press about the company. His role in the scheme was to contact victims and demand ransom. He was connected to the group after he used phone numbers registered in his name to contact some of the victims like an idiot who doesn't know anything about OPSEC. I would say this is more of a criminal than cyber criminal. Like, this guy, he's got some friends who are hackers, and they're doing the hacking, and he's just the idiot who's calling people up and saying you've been hacked. It doesn't seem like he actually has technical skills or know-how here. He's just an idiot who made phone calls. TDO Group itself has a long and prodigious hacking history. They have taken credit or been linked to, and then it lists a whole bunch of hacks, including Netflix, ABC, Prime Staff Inc., a bunch of other shit. Places that have been hacked, as well as healthcare companies who've had patient records leaked. That's good for him. Good, going to jail.
Good for everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully he ratted out his. Well, it's hard to. They knew he would be the patsy, so I doubt he can link up to too many of them.
This news is kind of old now, but when Zero Login first came out, the U.S. government actually sent out a notice to all their federal agencies demanding that they patch their Windows servers by what was Monday, last Monday now. That's 9 days ago. And we got a hacker who released the details of 1,000 high-ranking Belarus police officers. A hacker promises to leak more if police crackdown against anti-government protesters continues. The data included names of birth? That's not a thing. Dates of birth, names, and the official's
Well,
job.
names of birth is a thing.
Is it?
Because some people change the name later in life.
Name you have yeah, I get it. All right. I just said the wrong word though. The officers' department and job titles. The details for 1,003 officers was leaked via a Google spreadsheet, and most of the entries were for high-ranking officers such as lieutenants, majors, and captains. The hackers provided the data to the independent Belarusian news agency Nexta, which then published an unredacted version on Saturday on its official Telegram channel. That's ballsy as a news agency to publish an unredacted thing with a bunch of police officers' names and home addresses and shit. That's ballsy as hell.
The hack was probably an inside job anyway.
It's possible. So yeah, they're looking for who did it. They're probably not gonna find them. Protests have continued like clockwork. Police are still cracking down. They arrested more than 200 women in an all-women anti-government march. Yep. I think I'm pretty much out of stuff to talk about now. Yep. I got nothing left.
I don't have anything left either, but luckily we're at past 2 hours, so we're probably good. Does anybody have any closing remarks?
Well, I can say I'm glad I'm on the first time on the live stream with a microphone.
You know where
Nice to have you, man.
the link. Okay, in that case, everybody say good night, and we'll see you all next Wednesday, assuming I'm not fucked up in some way.
Well, yeah, you might want to avoid that. I mean, I've already had a couple of beers, so I'm good.
Yeah, just keep it till after the cast, man. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
After the cast would be like after 9. That's not gonna be good.
Well, you can drink beer during the cast. Just don't be putting back scotch during the cast.
As soon as you start the cast and hit the button where it starts streaming us to YouTube, then you can start drinking.
I totally missed Jason was in the cast, but I didn't add him back. Sorry, I was away from the screen.
Oh, I'm still here.
I still love you, Jason, even though I didn't add you back in the cast as fast as I should have.
Oh, don't worry about it.
By the way, can anybody else see someone when they're just sitting in the waiting room and not in the cast?
I can't.
I don't see anybody.
Yeah, sorry, I totally missed you. I'm sorry if you were waiting a long time. I was away from keyboard for a while arguing with people.
Oh, that's okay.
That's
all right, folks. We're gonna go off cast, and we're gonna go offline. Everybody have a good week, and see you next Wednesday, hopefully.
All right,
Later.
take it easy. Wednesday, maybe, right?
Yes, that's the plan.